Hey friends, welcome. I just want to talk a little bit about the Enneagram, which is the 9 personality types. This is a system of thought of looking at archetypes of personality types that I found very helpful. I think I first discovered it in 2006 through a friend, a coworker at this restaurant, and then through this woman who I saw a few times as a spiritual counselor. And and then I borrowed a book, and then I lived in a community that was in New York, and then I lived in a community in Oregon where a lot of people were kind of fluent in it, like had it as like a background thing and a way to, learn social sustainability, living in community, like sharing space with lots of other people. And that's where I really saw my type come out, specifically like working in the kitchen with people. So, but I won't tell you what my type is yet. But here's the map, or the image, the symbol known as the Enneagram. And we don't know how old it is. It might be from ancient Egypt or from Hebrew tribes, or there's a lot of the mystery of the symbol that's lost in antiquity. But apparently the past like 100, maybe 120 years or so, there's been equating the symbol with the 9 personality types, with, you know, using the symbol for a map of the human psyche. Now, according to this system, there's 9 personality types, and of course, each of us has some element of each inside of us, because we're all holistic, and ultimately we're part of a wholeness. But at the same time, there is certain patterns that stand out more in certain types than others. So as you can see, I don't know if I could point here, like this, backwards, but that's kind of the way the symbol is. Don't mind my perfect circle. Um, and yeah, so there's a lot to the Enneagram as you get more into it. Like each type has a wing, so you're usually associated with one of the neighboring numbers to you. So for example, a 1 will either have a 9 wing or a 2 wing. And a 2 will usually either have a 1 wing or a 3 wing, and so on. So, and there's also other aspects too, like if a 1 is in the position of, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty activated, then they integrate to a 7. Whereas if a 1 is feeling a little bit weak, a little bit tired, not as connected, then they go down to, how do I point? Then they go down to 4, And no type is better than the other. So the numbers don't really matter. Like, there's no less value in a 9 or no more value in a 9 than a 3, and so on. So, yeah, every number is different. Every number shows up, every character trait of each number shows up inside of ourselves. And, yeah, but as there's different tests you could take and different ways you could learn. I got marker on myself from my arts and crafts. But yeah, the more you learn about it, the more you see the particular fixation that your character will have, your ego structure. So ultimately, before I talk about the types, I just want to say that ultimately the teachings that resonate with me the most deeply is that we're all the Holy Spirit. We're all divine. We all come from the Supreme Mother, Father of the universe, or that is the universe, But at the same time, we're in these bodies. We have these personalities, and that's undeniable. So, so on the one hand, it's important, in my opinion, as someone who's been a student for a while, it's really important to remember the absolute, to remember thy will be done, to the divine. Remember that love is the absolute everything, the source of everything, and to which we return. And at the same time, while we're in these bodies and minds, it does help to have some awareness of our psyche, awareness of our personalities and where we might get hung up, because it's both, humanity and divinity. And it helps to learn about ourselves, helps with spiritual bypassing. Like, oh, it's all one, it's all divine, Sometimes people point like that, but they're not looking at their shadow stuff. Shadow is the parts of our ego that we don't see, that we're unconscious of. So, here are the 9 types. Type 1 is the reformer. So that's someone who is kind of like a perfectionist. They think they know the right way to do things. So they could be very, and again, remember, each number has a healthy, aspect, and then they could also have, each type can have aspects of themselves that are more likely to be shadow. So when the one is feeling integrated, feeling whole, then they're very discerning, just, truthful. And when they're in a less conscious state or less kind of evolved as an ego, then they're more likely to be righteous, indignant, and judgmental. And so type 2 is the helper or the caregiver. So they love, just like the name implies, they love to take care of others, and they have a lot of energy to give in that way, socially, and with love and softness. But they could also become manipulative and can be needy and can be resentful. They could give and then expect, they have to be really aware of giving from a place of wanting something in return. Type 3 is the achiever or the performer, and that's someone who, say for example, is like the captain of the chess team and the best volleyball player, and she's got straight A's and everything. It's like someone who really cares so much about how they look to others. They could have a lot of pride and a lot of competitiveness, but they could be very competent in a lot of different things. Type 4 is the individualist, or kind of like the romantic daydreamer. That's usually a sensitive, creative, introverted type, and they could be, they could have like a poor me kind of complex, like nobody understands me, I'm just going to write poetry about it. But they could also be, of course, very deep and very intuitive.